After this, there is no turning back. Remember, all I'm offering is the truth, nothing more. Do you know what I'm talking about?
This is that YouthSpin show. This is that YouthSpin show. This is that YouthSpin show.
Good evening, you're listening to YouthSpin. I am your guest host, Clemvio Hodge. It is great to be here once again, and I hope that you'll enjoy our very interesting topic for this evening. We have two wonderful guests, and but first, before we go into that, we'd like to say congratulations to the new government. We at YouthSpin are readily awaiting your contributions to the youth, and we are here for you, and we are here for the young people of Anguilla. We'd also like to say that this show is about youth leadership, and this segment focuses on programs and organizations that enable, encourage, and support youth leadership. This evening, we will be discussing the Taking the Lead program, and we'll be joined by two guests who are a part of the program. So I will introduce our guests right now. Our first guest, she is passionate about the elderly, whether it's spending quality time with them or taking care of them, which inspired her to enroll in a care of the elderly course, which she was successful in. She also enjoys helping people, meeting new people, and spending quality time with her loved ones. She's currently an administrative assistant at Advanced Caribbean, which is a small loan company. She attended the Taking the Lead course because she has been in various social groups where she was president, vice president, and was a part of various boards. She is also interested in joining more social groups where she probably might be fortunate again to have a leadership position. She believes that the training she received through the Taking the Lead program has equipped her with the necessary skills to be a better leader. She also believes that the Taking the Lead course has helped her to become a better person in general. Our second guest, he is a pastor of the Church of God of Holiness and a graduate teacher at a comprehensive school. He currently serves as one of the coaches for the Taking the Lead program. I'd like to say good night to our guests.
Good night.
So can you introduce yourself and give us a little rundown on what Taking the Lead is about to you, to our listeners? So we will go with the ladies first. Can you give us your name?
My name is Christonelle Gumbs.
And tell us about the Taking the Lead program.
Okay.
So you can tell us about what the program was about, and how you enjoyed it.
Well, the Taking the Lead program was to train us how to become better leaders, and I really enjoyed
Yes.
the
Okay.
course as well.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. You can introduce us, give us your name, and tell us what you thought about the.
Yes. Good night. My name is Mr. Gleason Brooks, and for 2 years, well, 2 cohorts now I've been a part of the program, and it is a very interesting and encouraging program in that you're amazed at the amount of young people that are interested not in being followers but more so in being leaders in the community. And when you have persons who are thus minded and are seeking to utilize programs that are made available to them so that they can experience growth, so that they can experience a level of exposure in those areas. It is very, very pleasing, and it gives you a good look at what the future is going to look like concerning potential leaders of the country.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Brooks. I also have with me my co-host, Mr. Akio Lloyd.
Yeah, hello, Radio Anguilla. Good night.
Yes, okay. So, background on the Taking the Lead program. The Taking the Lead program was designed by Mr. Bernard Watley and is delivered through the Comprehensive Learning Center. Speaking at the commencement of the program, Mr. Watley stated, Taking the Lead was born out of the perceived need for youngsters to be exposed to the principles of general leadership. It was realized that most of what was being offered in terms of leadership training targeted persons who were already practicing leadership. Very little, if any, leadership training was geared towards exposing youngsters to this kind of training, and that was how Taking the Lead emerged. To date, the program has graduated 2 cohorts, the first of which I was a part of. And the youngsters young persons were able to foster great skills and potential for leadership. With the professional facilitation of several coaches, the young leaders were exposed to the theoretical and practical processes involved in effective leadership, and they were also engaged in deliberations, debates regarding various issues associated with these processes. So we will now ask our guests some questions and have a little discussion with them as to what they felt about the Taking the Lead program and what they have benefited from it. So I'll put it over
First
to my
of all,
co-host.
let me. I could start asking questions here. No, I've been waiting. Sorry. Can you give us some something that what inspired you to get involved? A story, you know. How did you get involved with the program first and foremost? Who helped you get inspired to get involved? What made you a leader? What makes you a leader, you know?
Christonelle?
Okay. So what inspired me to get involved in the Taking the Lead program, like you mentioned before that I was in various groups, vice president, and I think that I needed a little bit more work done. I needed a little bit more work on myself, so I just said, okay, let me go out there. So because the type of person that I like to get involved in different social groups. So it will help me to develop myself to be a better leader in the near future. Mm-hmm. If I do decide to, well, most likely I will join a social group.
Okay. So our coach, tell us how you got involved and how you managed to continue your service for 2 cohorts.
Well, I was approached by Mr. Watley concerning the program, and I was a bit astonished and amazed at his perception of me, and also for his consideration of me as a leader, and to be able to be put in the position where I can share the limited experience and knowledge that I have concerning leadership. I found it to be quite rewarding, and it was just amazing, because here was an opportunity now, knowing the amount of people within the community, within this country, that has made an impact in my life, you know, giving words of wisdom, even in their demonstration in day-to-day living. You see certain qualities of leadership, and from that experience, now being put in a position where you're able to share what you have learned, pass it on to others. It was just an amazing opportunity, and I was glad for it. I'm still glad for it, and whatever I can do in that area, I'm just going to commit myself to it as long as I'm able to.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Brooks. So we're continuing to take the lead, and we have Miss Christonelle taking the lead in all aspects. So can you tell us, what were some of the highlights of the program? What made it exciting to you? Meeting new people, those kind of things. How did you enjoy it?
Well, it was very nice meeting new people. Some for the first time, some haven't seen a long time, and it was nice meeting the coaches.
What about your interaction with the coaches? How was that?
It was very good, actually.
Yeah. Okay, well, Mr. Brooks, from a coach's perspective, please tell us what were some of the highlights of the program for you.
Well, the various personalities that came out in the students was very, for want of a better word, very interesting, because you never know what to expect, what response to expect. As a teacher, you hope for the best, but you never truly know how a student is going to respond to the way information is delivered, especially when you feel when you have other facilitators that are way more capable and way more established than you are as a leader. You begin to question your abilities. You begin to question whether you will be able to match up to their standard of delivery. But all in all, I went in there, I was myself, and to my amazement, you see the smiles on their faces, you see their eagerness to be involved. Right away, you could tell that these were persons that were not there to test and see how it's going to be. They weren't there to be spectators. They were there to be participants in this great work. And it came out, and that to me was the highlight, to see the energy that was coming from them as they asked questions, as they interacted, as they participated in the various activities that were prepared.
That's exciting. I think it's sometimes it's rare in Anguilla to find that kind of environment, and
Yes.
and that man, that's something I want to build. I find challenges and activities that I do personally. So in terms of that, I mean, what kind of activities do you guys come across where you would be a leader, where you would be in charge of a group or something like that? There's various activities I know that daily activities that you come across. What are some of the challenges you face? Do you think your training has helped you overcome those kind of challenges? Mr. Pastor, come.
Okay, well, I have a number of responsibilities, both nationally and abroad. I am the youth pastor here at the Church of God Holiness on the Pope Hill. I'm also engaged in ministering to different young people, some of them my peers throughout the nation of Anguilla. I'm involved in that there. I do different things where we go do some little camping. They learn how to make fires on their own. They learn how to grill, barbecue chicken. Just an atmosphere where they're able to develop personal skills that would help to build leadership skills, and qualities. Also, I am the coordinator of a body within the Eastern Caribbean which is called CHECDIC. It is Church of God Holiness Eastern Caribbean District Youth Committee.
What a mouthful.
And yes. And that's why we abbreviate it.
Yeah.
And this body deals with planning youth events for our churches. We have about 8 churches within the Caribbean. And each year we have what is called youth camp. And we have a district talent. And the district talent is one that is very unique. I think it was just last year we had it here. Because of certain situations, we were not able to have it in its full delivery, but nonetheless, it was a very wonderful time.
Nice.
And so these various experiences, being in those positions, has given, helped me to develop a bit of confidence, being able to present to young people and also to learn a number of things that are able to help me as I lead. But one of the things that I try to employ as I engage with young people is listening. You find that very few, as a leader, you're challenged in that as a leader, you're expected to have all of the answers. So most leaders, considering that, they do a lot more talking.
Yeah.
What I try to do a lot of listening so that I can understand the personalities, understand the young people, and thereby get a better perspective as to how to go forward in leading.
That's interesting, because I've heard the best follower is a leader, and I think that plays right into it. I mean, if you as a leader, if you listen, then you'll know what to do. Your people will always tell you what to do. You know exactly.
Yes.
So and. Man, I think you're speaking the truth right now. I'm starting to follow you, man.
Yeah.
You're speaking the right words. So, in that sense, what are some of the key qualities and characteristics you would think we need to find in leaders, especially here in Anguilla, Miss Gumbs? Give us some qualities, key qualities and characteristics in a leader.
What are some of the qualities that you think that a leader must possess in order for them to actually be a leader?
Well, first of all, great leaders should be good followers, should be good listeners,
Right.
should be very ambitious
Ambitious in what way?
in helping others.
Yeah, and you do a lot of helping, right?
Yeah.
The elderly.
And I'm also a peer educator as well. So
Yes?
yeah.
Okay. And where do you do this?
Peer educator.
Yes.
Well, I just talk to a few persons that have problems. They normally come to me and I normally help them out in.
Okay, so they come to you personally.
Yeah.
And they find comfort in your company and
Yes.
Like a big sister.
Yeah.
okay.
That what you're trying to say?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, that's what it's like. I think the community raises a child, man. That's why I think leadership needs to be taught more in our system as a school system, maybe, I mean, I like how you're doing it in church, because church is a big gathering place for people in Anguilla in general. So it's effective, but maybe we don't do it enough. We gotta talk about. I think having an election just passed recently, we gotta bring the question: what is our leadership doing for us, and are the characteristics there exhibiting something that we want to exhibit as a nation? You know what I mean? Because they represent the people, and we voted them in, and we gotta make sure they stay to our standards. You know what I mean? And we gotta figure that out. I think that's what this discussion is about tonight. What do you think? How are we gonna move forward as leaders? In Anguilla. So, again, some key qualities and characteristics, Pastor.
Well, there are so many, but the Bible says, "Where there is no vision, the people perish." So I believe that a leader should have vision, is expected to know where he or she is taking those that they are leading. And I think one of the key things as it relates to knowing where to lead a people is knowing your history. If you don't know where you come from, it's hard for you to know where you're going.
Definitely.
You know, you wander aimlessly trying to find out who you are.
Okay, can I ask you a question now? A little more personal. What's your vision for being a pastor as you lead your church?
Well, I'm assistant pastor at the moment, but one of the visions, you really put me on the spot, one of the visions that I have...
As a leader, you should know though, right?
Well, not on the spot in the sense that of not knowing, but in the sense that I try to be one of those leaders, one of those individuals who do less talking and more doing, because over the years, and I mean, in many in many places, you find that there's a lot of talking that goes on, talking. Every year you meet, you talk, and there's very little action. I like to let my action speak for me.
Yeah.
Right.
And many times you're not always in a position to do as you would like to, but when you allow your actions to speak for you, then your words don't seem to be contradicting to your actions. But as far as vision, one of the things that I would like to engage in, and as I said before, I'm involved with, especially even through the school, I interact with different young men, and even beyond that, I try to interact with them outside of school, where we engage in different activities, because most of the time, as a leader, if you can't have engage in interpersonal relationships with those who you're leading, then you don't necessarily understand who you're leading. And without that kind of understanding, you seem to be out of touch with them, and so it just seem as though you're coming and you're giving information, you're giving instructions, and you're not necessarily being able to empathize with them. You're not being able to relate to where they are, because you're so out of touch, you're so detached, you're so focused on what you have to do, what you want to accomplish, what you want to see come under your name as far as achievements. And so you find that so many of those things take precedence over what should really matter, and that is the people who you intend on leading. And so one of the things that really, where my heart really is with the young men, trying to provide a positive role model for those young men. And I do it by just going into some communities. I have not gone into as many as I would like to. There are other things that have me kind of caught up right now, but I have started in one area, and I'm working to push that.
You gotta start somewhere. So Miss Gumbs, I note here that the Taking the Lead program was a once a week 3-hour program. Can you tell us about how that was, managing your time, staying active and staying participative in this program? So can you tell us about your experience in having to dedicate so much time out of your week, and especially going into long hours? Tell us about the experience that you had.
Well, it was a little kind of difficult because I just picked up on a job, but it was something that I was really interested in, and I asked God for time that I can attend the classes, and the coaches was very
interactive.
So they keep us going.
Okay. So since that is your little advice on you trying to become a leader by implementing some leadership traits, can you give us some advice that you would give to other young persons on becoming a leader? Because I know we have a lot of young persons out there who are unsure whether they are portraying leadership traits. Can you reassure them? Can you tell them some of the traits that you developed, that you have, that allowed you to go out there and do this program, dedicating 3 hours every a day, 3 hours every week towards this program? So, yes.
Well, firstly, it helped me to develop courage for doing this
For doing this right now?
right now.
Okay. Go ahead.
Yeah, it also motivated me to help young people as well, the youth.
It allowed you to take the lead.
Yeah,
Right.
actually.
So what else advice do you have for a young person who's out there and wants to take the lead but are unsure how to take the lead? What would be some advice that you would give them on that? Any little bit of information that you picked up along the way on this wonderful course?
That if you want to accomplish something, that you have to start from somewhere.
You have to start somewhere.
Yeah.
Okay, and you took the lead to start there.
Yes.
At the program.
Yes.
Okay, well that's wonderful. Co-host?
You're doing a wonderful job tonight. You know, I just want to tell you that.
Thank you.
Yeah. You look so nervous. Don't be nervous.
Oh my.
Can't see your face.
Yeah. Mr. Brooks, could you answer the same question? You mentioned that you were you deal with a lot of young persons in everyday affairs. I mean, you have to give young people advice all the time. You know, what kind of advice do you give them when they go into school, when they go into to be how to become a leader? How to, you know? I'm sure they're asking you. I'm sure.
Well, I try to. Some of them don't ask, but I still take the liberty of telling, trying to guide them.
Yeah.
And, one of the things I would share with them is, I don't know if Clemvio remember this from going to school, but I always tell them, you have to remember to engage in the 4 T's. I call it the 4 T's. Take time to think. Many times, the Bible says there's a scripture that I gave them to learn. I would have them to come to class and learn a scripture each week. And one of the scriptures said, wise people think before they act. Fools don't and even brag about it. And so in relation to that scripture, it's so important that we think before we speak, we think before we act. And it means that throughout your life, you have to take time, pause, think about things. You don't have to wait until something happens to think about it. You can think about it, imagine yourself being in that scenario. What would you do? What would be the right thing to do? What would be the wrong thing to do? What would be some of the consequences? There's a lots of thinking that can go on there. In addition to that, I try to teach them about being responsible. Not waiting for someone to tell you to do something, but realizing what you are responsible for and also taking the initiative and getting it done. We speak about various things like showing respect for others. If one of the things I always told myself is whether someone is older than me or whether someone is younger than I am going to show respect to that person. So sometimes I would walk the street and I have practiced so much with, trying to be respectful. I would hail some young children who are in primary school, and I would say good morning. If I see a child in preschool, I say good morning. I try to just show different levels of respect, and it has overtaken me so much that even if I see a dog, sometimes I'm saying good morning just so that the practice it becomes normal.
Yeah.
Sometimes I see people more than once at the, if I see you right now, and then 5 minutes or so, I go somewhere and I come back, I still say good morning
Same
again
thing, yeah.
because I've practiced it. I try to practice it so that the good thing comes out of you naturally. And one of the things, as if we want to be leaders naturally, then we have to make sure that the qualities that makes a person a leader, we practice them so much that it becomes almost innate. It becomes natural, second nature, so to speak. And so these are some of the things that I try to tell them. Be courteous to the opposite sex. Try to treat others the way that you would want to be treated. Various things like that.
Correct.
I think you're speaking about some great topics here. Respect and oh man, I forgot the last thing.
Respect.
Respect though. That's what
Yeah,
I mean.
respect
But
is
when
the
you say
biggest
respect,
thing.
it's something I don't. Man, that's something we might not be passing along too easily to
Yes.
the generations past us. But I think we got to respect our youth, and that's something we haven't shown them. We have to show them respect to get respect back.
Yes.
How would they know any better if you're not giving it? You know.
Right.
Yes.
So
Yeah, if I may, one of the things that I do as far as teaching and you trying to manage various behaviors and teaching students how they should behave, I ask them, do I shout at you? Do I call you names? Do I cuss bad words at you? Use indecent language in talking to you? If I don't do it, then you shouldn't do it. And sometimes, or a lot of the times, the response that we as adults get from the young people are actions that we are actually modeling to them. So we look at the negative and we say, oh, these young people are so disrespectful and all of these things. But we have to ask ourselves, what am I modeling before them?
exactly.
When we get in a certain position, we know what we should get, what we should receive. We should receive respect. But when another person is in the position of leadership and requires respect and such, we fail to remember that
have to
we
give
were not being respectful.
Yes.
And in
Yes.
every case, whether you're in the position or not, whether you feel as though you have a right to disrespect somebody or not, based upon something that they did to you, you should always think about what would you expect when you're in the position. What would you expect if you are on the receiving end? And many times, even leaders don't stop to think about that. Many leaders, and I could go into a lot of things, but
Well, yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Brooks. We're having a very good discussion here, and we're definitely taking the lead. But we'll allow our listeners to take time to think
Yes.
about what's being discussed as we go into our music break. All right, good night. You're listening to YouthSpin, and we have two great leaders right here who are taking the lead, Mr. Gleason Brooks and Miss Christonelle Williams. So I have a question for Miss Gumbs Williams. This is one that I experienced, that I went through in cohort 1, and I'd like for you to answer because I'm sure you came across it too. Are leaders born or are leaders made? Can I have your opinion on this?
Leaders are born.
They are born.
Yes.
Okay, so what makes them great leaders, even though they're born? What are they born with for them to be great leaders? You think Bob Marley was a great leader when he was born? Yeah, he was. What made him a great Bob Marley? What made him a great leader? Being born, because a lot of people still follow him even though he's dead today. So what makes him a leader right now? What makes him to be a continued leader?
I can answer that.
Okay, go ahead.
It's the lyrics.
The lyrics.
The lyrics. The
Okay.
lyrics relate to any and all situations.
All right, so that's what makes him a leader today. So would you say Bob Marley was born a leader, or was he made a leader?
He was born.
He was born a leader. Okay. All right. So are you saying that everyone are born leaders?
Yes, I think so.
Okay. And what makes them be born a leader? What traits, what attributes, what makes them a leader? Go ahead.
Okay. One, like I say, great leaders are good listeners. Some persons are good at listening to others. Some people are very persuasive, ambitious.
They're ambitious. Okay.
Yeah.
So if I'm persuasive, I may be persuasive in a good way, I may be persuasive in a bad way. Does that really make me?
But I think regardless of that question, being a leader, a good leader, is regardless if you're doing
Yeah.
something good or bad. That's relative. That's relative.
True.
That's really and truly is relative. You gotta say, like, if you're a good leader, like Hitler was a good leader. Period. You can't argue that because he had so many people following him and doing what he said. That's a good leader. Now, what he wanted to do is bad. Or at least a good leader got enough people, a big enough military to scare enough people to do what he wanted. So, but he to get into the position he was in, he did it through politics. He didn't do it through force, like that. Like with he didn't take over. He took over after that. So, you can argue, but it's a good leader. So I'm gonna ask you a question now. This is my question though. I had to answer this question in an interview for a leadership type position. So, if you were 12 years old and you're best friends with Hitler, Adolf, as you know him, and Adolf, you had a premonition that Adolf was gonna become the horrible man that he has gone down in history. What would you do, Mr. Brooks?
I have a question for you. Am I a Christian or am I an?
You answer it in
Unbelievable.
however you feel is your leadership skills. It's you that I'm asking.
My leadership skill. Okay.
In
If I was not a Christian, then I would try to find some persons who can assist me with putting together a poison. A poison that he could probably, drink himself. He gets a little thirsty. He sees the drink there, and he's like, wow, let me go and drink this. And he goes and he drinks it. I don't tell him anything about the drink. And nail bend story end.
Yeah.
But as a Christian, what my efforts would be to try to discourage him from that kind of behavior, similar to what Christ did with Judas.
Yeah.
He knew what Judas was going to be doing, and he tried to provide opportunity for him to change. He didn't. He even did that with Peter, where he said, Peter, you're going to deny me 3 times. And he provided even, in other instances, he says, the devil desires to sift you as wheat, but I have prayed for you. So I would have tried to steer him away from that as much as I could. But at the end of the day, God is the one who gives life, and he should be the one to decide as far as taking lives are concerned.
There's no right answer. So giving 2 answers,
Yes.
You're right in every way. There's no right answer to that question. And I think the question really just defines what type of leader you are, because it's really asking, are you willing to sacrifice a few for many, or
Yes.
try something different, not knowing what's going to happen, which is both choices are fearful, both choices are tough. So, Miss Romney Gumbs Williams. I'm hearing all kinds of names tonight. I ain't too sure
Romney
yet.
Williams.
Okay, Romney Williams.
Okay. Well, I will probably talk him out of it. Yeah.
You talk him out of it. How would you persuade him then? how would you persuade him not to do it? How would you talk him out of it? Because you told us that you do peer counseling, so he's your peer. Counsel him.
Well, bring the pros and the cons to him, and sometimes, you know, they need a little shaking up. So even if I have to shake him up, I'll have to shake him up.
Okay, so you said pros and cons. Well, I'm a leader. And I'm Adolf, and I want to rule the world per se. Let's say, I'm expressing my leadership traits. What are the pros and cons of me trying to be a leader and leading the world? What have I done so wrong to need a shaking up?
Because you're about to kill people.
Okay, so that makes me wrong because I'm expressing my leadership traits.
Yeah.
Yeah, but does that make me not a leader? Less of a leader?
Yeah, those are some hard questions.
Actually, hard questions. You just tell me what you feel, because you know.
So, yes, it will still make him a leader, but a bad one because of the choices that you're making.
Okay. All right. Co-host?
Actually, this kind of brings me to another point, more current though. In terms of the Baltimore riots, are you guys up on the news a little bit?
Yeah.
So, we all kind of aware, well, at least in what the news makes it out to be, is a lot of young black men in the States destroying and looting and doing all kinds of craziness. It might not be that many, but there's definitely a group of young black men, and they may be expressing frustration instead of just doing it out of random acts. They may be doing it for whatever reason. But as a youth leader, if that happened here in Anguilla, how would you react? What would you do? Especially in considering what they're reacting to. You know, it's still just as serious. And I heard a report actually on the way into the studio that somewhere on the news it said that the autopsy came out and the police are saying that he killed himself in handcuffs. He died from a spinal injury and he had his handcuffs behind his back. But they're saying he killed himself in custody in the van. Just so we all aware how serious this situation is. I mean, that's not even a joke. Oh man, I could really get into it right here. The revolution will not be televised really makes sense. As I grow older, it makes sense. But what would you tell young people if that happened here in Anguilla?
Well, there are some, sometimes we are looking for big statements, we are looking for elaborate speeches to kind of give us answers that we already know. And many times the most profound lessons can be learned from the simplest of statements. For example, when I was growing up, I always heard 2 wrongs never make a right. Whenever you try to retaliate with the same, whenever you try to correct a wrong with a wrong, the result always ends up being more wrong.
Yeah, I make the world go blind.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so you find that what persons would need to understand, what I would try to get persons to understand is you're never solving the problem if you try to use wrong to, make some kind of change or try to bring about a point about something that was done wrong. For example, as well, I find it to be contradicting where you say you say you are disagreeing with a certain type of behavior, and yet you're portraying that same behavior against to show some kind of disagreement against that behavior. It doesn't make any sense.
It's hypocritical.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you should use right as Martin Luther King Jr. said. We're not going out there to use force to do the same things, use the same attitudes and behaviors that persons are using against us. No, we're gonna use love. We're gonna counteract that with the right kind of behavior to show people where we want to go, where we want to get to, not to try to stay in the same pig pen.
Yeah, and another great leader also said, "Be the change you want to see."
Yes,
And
Gandhi.
if you don't portray it yourself as a leader, how do you expect for change to happen?
yes.
Yeah. So you are listening to YouthSpin. We are having a very lively discussion right now, as our two guests are continuing to take the lead in Anguilla, and we know that leadership in Anguilla is a very important aspect in leadership across the world. So how influential have you been as a leader, Miss Gumbs? Like when you're talking to the persons that you counsel, how do you feel? Have you been successful in any way? From how they react to you, or how they behave after being counseled?
Well, I've been very successful because every time they go to a different phase, they always feel comfortable coming to talk to me and telling their friends that if they have a situation that they can come to talk to me, and it's very confidential and stuff like that, because they never hear anything we discuss.
Okay, so that's another trait then, trust. So they develop trust in you.
Yes.
Okay, so we're getting a lot of leadership traits out here. Co-host?
I reading some quotes we have written down here, and everything that we've talked about tonight and everything that keeps coming up is exactly what's on this page, and I think we know exactly what a leader is. Like you just said, leaders. This is from John C. Maxwell. Leaders must be close enough to relate to others, but far enough ahead to motivate them. You know, same thing. That's exactly what you were just saying. And right before that, effective leaders is not about making speeches or being liked. Leadership is defined by the results, not attributes. That's Peter Drucker. And that is exactly, I think we get the idea, you know. It's all about we need to act and do those things. And I don't think it could be said enough, you know. One thing I'm interested in talking about, the government that was just elected and talked a lot about education, including Pam in the East in the Independent, talked about education. What are some of the, we talked earlier about being on the ground as a leader. I'm interested in knowing, because a lot of young people are in the education phase of their life, and what are some of the things in education you all think need to change in terms of leadership? How do we grow better leaders? If we're not all of us could be born a leader. You know, how do we grow some of those characteristics a little bit? I know it's a tough question. Have you guys thought about it? I think about this a lot.
Yeah, because education is the platform. We have to continually strive to be educated in our experiences and so forth. So can you let us know what changes may be needed in our education system? How can we make it better?
I think one of the things that our young people will need to understand and grow to appreciate is their role and responsibility as citizens of this country. Getting to the point where they understand that they weren't born to just roam the streets, chill out somewhere. There's a vital role and responsibility that they have to their home, their community, to this nation, to try to help build it, to learn the history of what makes us Anguillan, what makes us such a wonderful nation, and try to see how we can build on those characteristics, try to build on those the character traits, the attitudes, the behaviors. As the more I learn about what Anguilla was like, who the people are, the attitudes, the mindset of the people, the more I feel I feel compelled to make myself better. I feel compelled to strive for more.
Yeah.
We are not persons who are born out of ignorance. We were very, very intelligent people.
Yeah.
We are very determined. One of the things the mindset that I grew up with is, there is nothing that I can't do. As the scripture says, with God, all things are possible. And so I don't say I can't. I'm going to try. I'm going to try because I can do it. God has given me the ability. God has created all of us with amazing ability that will blow our mind. But we just need to allow Him to lead us and guide us in the way that we should go. But a part of getting to that point is understanding that we have a great role to play in this country, a responsibility, and that each of us, no matter whether we are working on the garbage trucks, and we need to just, more than just talk about it when we get into big forums and we want to be formal, but actually live it out. We need to communicate to our people that every position that is occupied within this country, as once it is noble work, it is esteemed, it is praised. Because too many times you hear talk about, oh, I'm not going to be this, and even parents, if your child decides he or she wants to be, what's the term for it? Some kind of an engineer,
Okay.
for a person who collects garbage.
A waste engineer.
Yeah.
If he or she decides to be that, try to encourage them to be the best of that they can be. When we say there's nothing wrong with it, but each and every one of us are discouraging our children from it, what are we saying? We are contradicting ourselves, and so we need to let our children know that whether you're working for much or you're working for little, once you're doing a noble work, then it is something that you should take pride in, something that you can be a leader in, something that you can bring innovation and creative. So every area is very important. Every role is significant, and you can be a leader no matter what area or what sector of the community you are involved in. You can demonstrate good leadership as you fill your role and accept, embrace, and execute your responsibilities to the best of your ability.
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Brooks. We'll now move into final thoughts. So, Miss Romney Williams, can you please give us some of your final thoughts on taking the lead program, and also on leadership as a very integral part of our country's development? Some final thoughts. What do you think about the program? How can it be successful in the future? Would you encourage other young persons to take it up? Any of your final thoughts? Okay, we'll give you a second. Mr. Brooks, final thoughts.
I think the program is a very excellent program. The vision that went into seeing this need is one that is that I praise, and is very priceless once utilized properly by the young people of our country, and seeking further development, not just with learning the information, but even in personal character. Once persons build on what taking the lead does, then I believe that this nation has a great future ahead of it. And so I would encourage young people. Everyone has the capacity and the capability of being a leader. God created us to be unique, each of us unique. And so we all have that capability to be that leader, and taking the lead program is one that is a great facilitator in getting our young people, guiding our young people towards that. And so I would encourage them to
quickly.
really
How could someone get in contact with you to take the lead, to get involved with the program?
Well, I'm a facilitator, but
how can someone get in contact with a program?
Well, the program takes place at the Comprehensive Learning Center in
North
Hill, and so you can either contact Mr. Watley. He's pretty much all over the island. You can get in contact with him very easily, and also Mrs.
York Gums.
Yes, as well. Once you go to the center there in North Hill, you can find her there, and information will be received, will be given to you
Okay.
as you need it.
Thank you. All right, thanks, Mr. Brooks. Appreciate it tonight, man.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Okay. Well, I think that youth should get involved in the Taking the Lead program because it's very informative and it makes you become a better person, not only only a better leader, but it makes you a better person. It helps you in your day-to-day activities at work, at school.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Alright.
at home as well. So I think that you guys should come out to the Taking the Lead course. And yeah.
All right.
And if I may, I would encourage young men to get involved, because more and more you see women taking advantage of these things,
Taking the
yes, taking the lead, and we need our young men to come out in resounding numbers and take up their responsibility by getting enrolled in the program and learning how we can be better leaders.
Yes.
The balance.
Yes.
Yes, shout out to our guests. Thank you again for coming out. We appreciate you guys talking about taking the lead with us. We here at YouthSpin, we're trying to, big up the youth leadership in Anguilla and make sure that their word gets out and make sure that we do get more young people involved. And young people listening, old people listening, everybody listening, check us out on YouTube. We put all our stuff up on YouTube at YouthSpin. For future episodes and for the past 21 episodes, it's all there. This one will be up there sometime this weekend. You can check our Facebook page out at YouthSpin AXA and follow us for those weekly updates. Check us every Thursday, 8 p.m. right here on Radio Anguilla. Clem?
It's been a very wonderful show. And
any shout outs? You guys got any shout outs?
Anybody you want to shout out to?
Listening. You want to shout out God? I shout out God. John.
Shout out to my Church of God Holiness Youth. Shout out to all the children that know me from the high school and everywhere. Shout out to Anguilla.
That's the biggest one.
Yeah, man. Cool. Shout out to my brother and my dad. I'm sure they're listening.
Yeah, I got a shout out to Cohort 1 because we're still out there. We're very close together and we call each other lead mates. So shout out to my lead mates out there. And I hope that other young persons are ready to take up Cohort 3 when it's about to be started. So listen closely.
Oh, I got some more shout outs. Shout out to organizers and participants of the Taking Lead program. And the new executives of the Anguilla Youth Ambassador Corps. The new electoral officers, and all kinds of stuff going on.
We got a lot of stuff.
Check YouthSpin. We're doing some big updates. It's going to come out this summer. Yeah.
All right.
That's it. Thank you.